guys. Welcome to my broadcast, my podcast. Uh, Tonight we are going to be talking about food, the food that we feed our dogs. How do we know whether it is right or wrong? How do we know if the food we're feeding our dogs is the food that is best for them? Now, this is a hard topic. It's one that I've been passionate about and telling people, don't feed your dog this food, don't feed your dog that food. This is the best food. Try feeding this food. And it's something that I'm very, very passionate about. Like I said, the proper food for your dog and not feeding garbage food to your dogs because we want our dogs to be healthy. They spend their lives loving us and serving us. We need to turn around and do the same for them. It's not fair to them to live a life of service, to be eating garbage food. So, the question is, how do we know if the food that we've chosen? And one of the ways you figure it out is, well, how many cups a day do you have to feed your dog? How often are they going poop? Um, More elimination means that they are not absorbing the nutrients they need to. And again, runny or abnormal food. Elimination can mean that they're not getting what they need to get. Um, Hello, Samantha. How are you? Thanks for joining me here. So, so those are some things that you need to be paying attention to. Is what do their stools look like? How often are they going? Because the more they go, the more you know that they're not absorbing the nutrients in the food. Also, speaking generally, uh, wonderful to hear, Samantha. I'm glad you're doing great. Speaking in general terms, the closest you can get to raw food is the best is going to be the best for them. So the really expensive foods like Akana is a really good one. Now their foods are pretty much the closest you're going to get to raw feed. You're also looking for food that has high meat content. Sorry. So, for example, if you flip over the bag and the first thing you see is oats or peas or um, I forget the word, but it's not an actual meat. It's a meat byproduct. Then that's not going to be a really high quality food. It's going to be on the lower version. So there are some foods that are on the lower side of good, and shouldn't be fed. Nutrisource is a good food. About a medium grade good food, so that works really well. That's a really good one. So Akana, Blue Wilderness. If you flip over the bag and you look at the ingredients, the first ingredient should be some sort of meat: lamb, chicken, salmon, stuff like that. And then you want three or four meats before you hit the vegetables and the byproducts and the fillers. All of our kibble is going to have fillers in it. We don't like that, but that's the truth. Uh, every kibble that we know is going to have fillers in it. Interesting fact for you, you may not want to know. You know the Mars candy bars? They actually make dog food. I think it's Iams or Purina. I'm not sure. I'll have to double check that and I'll let you guys know the next time I'm on here. But they I do have the Mars Candy Bar um, company also makes a popular dog food brand that I can't remember the name of it, but interesting. Are you eating dog food or are the dogs eating chocolate? Okay. So, anyways, those are some things to watch out for. Now, you can feed raw food. There are companies that make raw food. They come in these big old rolls, like you would think hamburger or ground turkey come in, and they're in the refrigerator or freezer part of your pet store. They're super, super, super expensive, but they're very healthy for your dog. If you have a dog the size of Danny, she's 105 pounds. I don't suggest that you try to go that way because it's going to get really expensive to feed that kind of food. There's also the farmer's dog, really great raw foods, really good company. I wish I could afford to pay to feed Danny the farmer's dog food because I've researched them. I really like them, but whenever I get ready to check out, I just end up not going that way because their food is so expensive. And again, with a 105-pound dog, it's going to take oodles and oodles of food to feed her. Another thing that you can do is you can feed raw yourself. There are vegetables, raw vegetables are actually good for your dog. The quota of meat to vegetables, your dog's food should be mostly meat. However, putting in vegetables and stuff like that is also necessary. Peas, spinach, carrots. Actually, carrots are really good teething food, and they are really good food to for your adult dogs to chew on as well. And the reason is because if they chip off a piece of the carrot, it's not going to hurt them. And it's a teething toy they can go ahead and eat. We know puppies eat everything. They put it in their mouth, it comes out the other end. They're going to swallow it. So carrots are really good teething food or toy for the puppies because you don't have to worry about what's going to happen when they swallow it. And most dogs that I know and have been around really, really love carrots. Frozen peas, frozen vegetables, frozen peas, peas out of a can, fresh vegetables, anything like that would be a very good treat for your dog. Sorry, hang on. So go ahead and try that. Oh, that's a cute kitty. All right. So, if you're going to create a raw food on your own, the best thing you can do is find a local butcher or a store and say, hey, you know what? What do you do with your throwaway meat? Is there a possibility that I could buy it from you on a huge discount, or would you donate the scraps to me? And if you can find somebody to do that for you, you're golden. Because then what you're going to do is you're going to come home and you're going to grind the meat till it looks like hamburger. And then you're going to take the meat and the fresh fruits, the fresh vegetables, and put them together, blend them all together, stick them in the fridge, stick them in the freezer, and then feed accordingly. If you've got a puppy, you may want to do half a cup every meal. If you've got a bigger dog, maybe a cup to 2 cups every meal. Again, with a dog Danny's size, this is going to get really expensive because you're looking at 2 to 3 cups per meal. So, if you have a very big, giant breed dog, this may not be the best way to go for you. Again, this is something I'm really passionate about, and I greatly encourage feeding the best food you can feed them according to your budget and your dog's needs. I do not believe that kibble's the best way to go. If I had my way, the dogs would be eating fresh food. Fresh food, fresh meat, fresh vegetables, fresh everything. Um, oh, another thing is, sorry, let me backtrack. If you're making your own food, you can add in olive oil. Coconut oil is a really good source of amino acids and the fishy stuff that they need to get. If you guys are watching, please understand that I have epilepsy and I have POTS, both of which affect my brain and my memory. So I do know what I'm talking about. It just may not come out of my mouth the right way sometimes. So please be patient with me. If you're here with me and you know what I'm looking to say, you can put it in the chat and then I will be able to say it properly. Okay, so all those oils that help your dog's coat be shiny and healthy and soft should be in their food, but it's not. So to add in oils, fish oil is the best oil you can have. Coconut oil is a good food as well. Even if you're not feeding fresh ground food that you're making yourself, if you're feeding kibble, you can add in eggs and the coconut oil or the fish oil. Now, what you're going to do with that is if you do feed fresh eggs, you want to put the shells in there with it because the egg by itself doesn't have the nutrients your dog needs. You'll want to wash the egg so that all the store chemicals are off from it, and then crack it into the bowl. You're going to stir up the egg and crush up the shell so that the dogs, some dogs like Jack will just, I'll give him an eggshell, empty eggshell, and he'll be, no. He's a lab. He eats everything. But Danny is more picky. She's my 105-pound Great Dane Mastiff mix. And so in order to get her to eat an egg, I have to stir it all up with her food. So if you're going to feed eggs, and they're very nutritious and helpful for your dog. So if you're going to feed eggs, go ahead and mix the shell in with the egg and add that to their food and stir it all up. About a tablespoon of coconut oil. Mix that with their food once or twice a day is enough. And that'll help with their any skin problems. It'll also help with joint problems. Just help them to be nice and healthy and strong. Okay, so perfect world, we'd all feed raw, fresh food to our dogs. I know some people think, I'm going to feed my dog all vegan or stay away from gluten, stay away from don't stay away from gluten. There's the talk about, oh, well, wheat and stuff makes the dog's heart unhealthy. And there's so much controversy about that and what should be in your dog's food, whether you should avoid gluten or whether you should not. Sammy says, I don't know what treat to give Stitch. He keeps getting diarrhea. So Stitch is still really young. So first of all, make sure with the food that he's eating, make sure he's getting consistent food. Don't leave it out for him to eat. Give it to him twice a day at the same time. Make sure you worm him. He's old enough to be wormed, so make sure you give him some worm medicine. That may clear up the diarrhea. Also, with the treats, don't be giving him tons of treats during the day. What I would do for training treats is use his kibble. So that he's not getting anything super off diet for him. Just use pieces of kibble to train with him. If you feel like he's not working for his kibble, switch to Cheerios. Just your regular Cheerios, not Honey Nut Cheerios or chocolate Cheerios or anything like that. Just your regular Cheerios or even your Toasted O's, which are cheaper. They're the off-brand. One at a time for training, and that'll work as well. That way you know exactly what he's getting, and you can pinpoint better what's causing him to have issues. However, I would suggest worming him as soon as possible because that may be the case as well. Also, another thing is if he's going through his shots right now, which he should be getting his shots, um, make sure that he's getting them on the right schedule because and the shot can cause diarrhea, not constant diarrhea, but it can cause him to have a little bit of diarrhea. If he continues to have diarrhea and it's bad, get him into the vet as soon as possible to make sure it's not parvo or something else scary like that. Okay? So if you think it's just from the treats, just try getting him on a more consistent diet where you give him this and nothing else. But if it continues to happen all the time, make sure that you get him in to see the vet. So, uh, anyways, um, so let's see. He is wormed. I've been doing his kibble, but yeah, he's not as interested. Okay, I saw the vet. He gave us meds. It fixed the diarrhea. Okay, perfect. Good. So, if that's the case, then he should be fine. Try some Cheerios for his treats. See if he'll go after that better than he is the kibble. If he's not going after the Cheerios and he's still being finicky, let me know and I can set you up with some good treats that shouldn't mess up his gut. Okay? All right. So, and that brings up a really good situation is, well, what treats are good for our dogs? Same thing as it's going to be with the food. The what is in the treat? First ingredient should be meat, and they should be small pieces, little small pieces that you can give one at a time. Shouldn't be giving them handfuls at a time. You're welcome. So make sure they're small sized treats and make sure you give them one at a time. And that the dog isn't getting treat after treat after treat after treat day, all day, all day, all day. Something people don't realize is that you can train your puppy and your dog by giving them praise and love and pets instead of treats. So you can switch out. Sit. Oh, you sat. Here's a treat. Good job. And 5 minutes later, sit. They sit. Oh, yay. You're such a good boy. You're such a good girl. Here's some loves and some pets. Yay. They don't care. Most dogs will work for affection just as well as they will for treats. So, giving your dog too many treats and making them obese is not healthy for them. Giving your dog the wrong kind of treats is also not healthy for them. Just like me, I eat too much ice cream, I eat too much chocolate, so, be aware of that, be patient and understanding, and help your dog understand too. Jack, our Labrador retriever, would eat himself to death if I let him. The two rescue puppies that we're fostering are the same way. When I put their food down in front of them, I know I'm feeding them enough, but within 5 seconds, the food is gone. Okay, that's not good for them either. So if you have a dog that rushes through their food, you can try a puzzle bowl that has the different shapes and stuff grooved into it so that they have to follow the food to get it. Okay, because eating too fast can lead to bloat. It can lead to all sorts of unhealthy situations, including farts. Lots and lots of farts. That's another way to know if the food you're feeding your dog is appropriate, is if they're letting off a really foul smell. So be aware of that as well. But be aware of what's going on with your dog's gut. If they seem to be having a lot of problems, there are dog probiotics that you can get. Those do tend to run very expensive, so if you can't afford those, a good way to get the probiotic in your dog's stomach balanced is to buy some plain yogurt and plop a little bit of that, a couple of spoonfuls of that into your dog's food as well. The controversy about wheat. Is it good for my dog? Is it not good for my dog? The gluten. Some vets say it'll cause heart disease. Some say it won't. Again, the best advice I would have for you is what do dogs eat in the wild? Mostly meat. Do they get any grain in their diet in the wild? Do wolves and coyotes and foxes, those kind of animals, do they eat wheat and rye and grain? The answer is not really. They do eat grass. They do eat some. They eat some greens. But what they're going to be looking for most in their diet in the wild is the meat and then the fruits and the vegetables. Um, I know my dogs love strawberries. A fun treat you can do for your dog, especially if they're teething or if they're eating too fast, is to get some strawberries and chop them up, get some carrots and chop them up, and then get some hot dogs and chop them up, and put a little bit of each in an ice cube in each little hole of an ice cube tray. And then go ahead and add water to that and freeze them because dogs like to chew on ice anyway. So if you pop it out and there's cute little chunks in it that are treats that they like anyway, they'll sit there and gnaw on the ice until they get the treats out. And that's a better way for them to get snacks as well. A dog that eats too fast is gonna have flatulence issues. It's gonna have stomach issues, gurgling, stuff like that. So getting probiotics in them with yogurt will help, but also getting them to eat slower. Jack has a puzzle bowl, but he still eats really, really fast. So how do we help that? One way that we can help that is get his bowl at least 2 to 3 hours before feeding time. Get his puzzle bowl, fill it with the food that he is allotted, pour some water in there, and stick it in the freezer. So now the food is frozen. When it's time to eat, we pull that out, set it down. He wants to eat fast, but he cannot because it's frozen. So then he'll look at it and gnaw at it, and it'll take him some time, but as he's breathing on it and as it's sitting in air, room temperature, it'll start thawing out. And as it starts thawing out, he'll get chunks of food. But he's got to go a lot slower because he's got to thaw it out as he goes along. So this will cause him to eat slower. That'll help with the tummy issues, and it'll help him digest his food better. It'll also help him feel fuller so that he's not overeating. So that's a good way to do that. Another good way to feed a fast eater is with a snuffle mat. A snuffle mat is like a rug, a shaggy rug piece that you can put the food in and it disappears. And then they've got to sniff and find it. If you don't have a rug like that, what you can do is you can use a towel. And you can pour bits of food in the towel and then fold it this way, put more food in it, fold it again, put more food in it, and just fold it all these different ways until all of the food is in the towel. And then they have to unfold the towel in order to eat. That did not help for Jack. Once he figured out what was going on, every time I set the towel down, he would just pick it up and shake it until all the food fell out. And then he would gulp it up on the floor. So for dogs that are too smart for their own good, the towel may not work, the snuffle mat may not work, but the frozen food should. So you can do that, and that'll take them a while to eat. So what kibble is best for my dog? Now let me tell you about Danny's journey. Having this huge passion for food and for particular knowledge on what is good food, what's not good food, what's garbage food, blah, 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 blah. When I got Danny, I saw that they were feeding her a food that I didn't necessarily agree with. So I was like, oh boy, yeah, not gonna feed her that. We'll get her on some high quality food and she'll be good. So for the past year and a half, 2 years, I've been trying to feed her quality food, high quality food. And she started scratching. She was almost scratching holes in her. So I was like, oh, she's allergic to something. I bet it's chicken. So I put her on salmon only food. I also started giving her allergy medication and she continued to scratch, continued to scratch, continued to scratch. And I was just trying to figure this out. What's going on? What's going on? I can't get her on the right food that will help her not scratch anymore. Her coat, she was getting patches where she was missing hair on her throat, on her chest, anywhere she could reach to scratch. And I was like, that's allergies. So I took her off from chicken. I took her off from gluten. I put her on, salmon. That helped a little bit, but she was still scratching. So I took her off salmon and I put her on lamb. Oh man, she's definitely allergic to lamb. So then I took her off from the lamb, put her on beef. She couldn't do that either. And she kept throwing up. And I all through this journey, I was like, what in the world is going on? Because when I asked the people I got her from, I said, does she have allergies of any kind? Have you noticed any food problems? Any skin conditions? No, no, not at all. There's nothing like that. She's really healthy. Not since I've had her. Okay. Recently, a couple of months ago, we got a donation of um, pedigree. And I was like, oh, well, not going to feed that to my dog who has all these allergies, but I'll feed it to our pet dogs who can eat anything they want to. They've got stomachs of iron. So I was feeding it to them, but some of it accidentally got in my dog's bowl. And it was chicken. Ah! No, 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 not chicken and not pedigree. No way. So, but when my son was emptying it into the container, he accidentally dumped a whole bunch into Danny's feed container that we store the food in. So I was like, well, there's, not much I can do now. Let's just see what happens because I'm so tired of this and it's getting really difficult and I don't know what I'm doing after all. I'm doubting myself on this whole food thing. So I started feeding her the mix of the pedigree chicken flavored with her high quality salmon flavored only food. And she stopped puking. And her fur started to grow back. This is interesting. So then I went ahead and started feeding her straight pedigree to see what would happen. Well, guess what had happened? Her hair grew completely back in. She was looking great. She was so soft. And she hit another growth spurt because she's not considered fully grown until she's 3.5, and she'll be 3 on January 1st. So on this food, she hit another growth spurt. Her fur was looking great. It was crazy. So this last month, I was like, well, maybe it was a fluke. Let's see. So I put her back on her high quality food. I was like, let's see, because we got a donation of that for the service dogs. We might as well feed it to her. So I put her back on that, and guess what? She's scratching herself really bad, and she's starting to have bare spots on her neck again. For some reason, her body responds better to pedigree than it does to anything like a Kana or anything. So is it something to do with her brain? Is it something to do with memory? Is it something to do with that's what her body got used to as she was a puppy? I don't know. I still strongly believe, and I have science to back me up, that certain foods are better than other foods. However, I have a new belief now as well that the best food for your dog is the food that your dog is okay on. Um, Pedigree is what my dog responds to. So from now on, pedigree is what she'll eat. It's a whole lot cheaper. Um, it's it's not up to the standards that I would like to see, but it is up to the standards that fit my dog. So that is what she will be eating. We can go through all of the science behind these different kinds of food and say this is better than this, that's better than that, this is why, this is what you should look for, which is what we've done tonight, right? But the solid point behind all of this is if your dog's stomach cannot handle a certain food, don't feed it to them. If another food is exactly what your dog needs to be happy and healthy, feed that to them. And you'll know. Like I said, for the last year and a half, 2 years that I've had her, I've been struggling to try and find the right food for her. And I didn't want to try the lower quality foods. However, when she's on that lower quality food for 2 months, she starts getting better. That's what she needs. So if you see your dog start having issues on a food, and you know what, you can go to the vet and you can say, what do you think this is? And they can say, well, it's probably seasonal allergies. It could be food allergies. Here's the situation. That's great to make sure it's nothing else. You should check with your vet. But their situation that they can tell you is they can give your dog a shot for the allergies that's going to cost over $100 a piece. And that's very helpful because it helps a lot, but it's very expensive. And then also they can do allergy tests to see what they're allergic to, but it's very intrusive to the dog. And again, it's very expensive. So if you're on a limited income, you can also start cutting out different foods to see what they're allergic to. The most common that they can be allergic to is chicken, beef, or gluten. So here's the thing. If you're looking for allergies, don't cut out all of those at once. You have to cut them out one at a time. And you have to cut one out for several months before you know whether it's going to solve the allergy issues or not. Because you got to give that food time to go through their system and get out of their system. So it's a very long, drawn out process. And for those of you who might have a dog that has food allergies, I am so sorry. My previous service dog was a Great Pyrenees, and he was definitely allergic to chicken. But it took forever to figure out what it was. And that's why with Danny, I knew what I was looking for. I consulted with the vet without doing all the tests. It was the same vet who had seen Chewy, and she said, yeah, that's probably what it is. But like I said, I've been slowly over the last 2 years cutting out one thing after another, keeping her on the salmon food, doing high quality food to see if I could figure out what in the world she was allergic to. With no help. Chewy, it was easy. The first thing we took him off from, chicken, was what he was having problem with. But if you do have a dog that has allergies, don't give up. Consult with your doctor, with your vet. Stay close to them. And then, like I said, start taking out one allergen at a time. And give it time to work. See what happens. So I'm going to go ahead and end this for tonight. But the biggest thing I want you guys to take away from this is that what is the best food for my dog is, in general, the closest thing you can get to raw feeding will be the best food, generally speaking. However, if you have a dog like Danny that is not responding to the best that you can do, consult with your vet, do the best you can do, figure it out, and maybe try some things different. Um, think outside the box. Give it a couple of months, see what's going on, see if they get better, see if they get worse. It's a, again, long process, but in the end, whatever the food brand is, whatever the quality you think it is, if it makes your dog happy and healthy, it is the right food for them. All right? Thank you for joining me here tonight, guys. We will talk to you again next week. We will be doing this podcast every Wednesday at 7 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, and we'll have different subjects that we go over each week. So thanks for joining me. I hope you have a great night. We'll see you next week.